StephanieTalk.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you, studio audience. Please help me welcome the phenomenal Stephanie Carroll, everyone. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here today.
Me too.
It's always a pleasure to have people that are doing just inspirational things in the community. So
I'm super excited to be here.
Well, you look great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Stephanie, we're going to get to Stephanie. She's got so much things to talk about, so many things. Her story is phenomenal, but I want you guys to know that Stephanie, I want to show you what she brought me. Stephanie, do you want to show what you brought me first? We'll get it off.
I have a little hobby where I like to go to thrift stores, antique stores, and find any kind of Victorian little goodies, and then I turn them into candles or potpourri dishes and either give them away or try to hawk them at my book reading.
Wow. So she brought me this gift, and I love it, you guys. That's so awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited.
Huge. It's always huge to be invited to do something like this.
And I'm so glad that you're here. So tell us all how you got started. Tell us who you are and where you're from.
Well, I came to the Central Valley when I became engaged to my husband, Jonathan, who is stationed in Lemoore with the U.S. Navy.
Okay.
And when I came up here, I started going to college at West Hills in Lemoore. And that was when I really discovered my love for history.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I loved writing, but a long time ago I had kind of been told that you can't make a living writing fiction. So I was always trying to pursue it as in something that you would do without writing fiction. So I found history, and that involves writing, and I really liked it, and that was something I started getting into, and I went to Fresno State and got my degree in history. And then towards the end of that, I realized that you can't do very much with a history degree either.
But teach history, right?
Yeah, unless you want to be a teacher, but I
Uh-huh.
wanted to be a writer. So I got an internship with the journalism department,
Uh-huh.
and I started writing freelance for newspapers all over the Central Valley. I've written for Tulare, Exeter, Reedley, Sanger, all over the Central Valley. So this place really feels like home to me because I've been really in every little facet of the community.
You definitely left your imprint everywhere.
Yes.
So you're so Central Valley bound. I love it. What kind of entries, or what did you write for the newspapers? Was it stories, or were you
It was
covering?
mostly feature type things. I know I did an article on a history teacher that was really making an impact.
Oh, I
and
see.
for the Sanger Herald, I was covering the school board. So I
Okay.
did a lot of just covering basically, the school news, education news, things like
Oh,
that.
wow. It sounds exciting. And one thing you didn't mention is that you did receive some awards
Yes.
for your writing.
Well, after after we moved to Fallon, Nevada for a time, and while I was working as reporter there, I earned first place awards from the National Newspaper Association
Wow.
and from the Nevada Press Association.
So who says, you can't be a writer? Look at you winning awards. And like you said, your imprint is on the Central Valley for sure. So tell us about, so you're writing, but you wanted to become an author of a book. So how did that come about?
Well, after, it actually took a really difficult life experience for me to discover that. I knew I wanted to be a writer, and I had known that I loved history, but I didn't know what to do with it. And after I graduated from college, that was when my husband was restationed to Fallon, Nevada with the Navy. And the thing about Fallon, Nevada is that it's a really small town.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
I have a friend that's stationed there.
Okay,
she
so
was.
she's
Jennifer,
probably told you.
Holly, if you're watching. Yeah. Yeah, so she moved to Fallon.
A lot of Navy wives get really frightened when they move to Fallon
Wow.
because it is so small, and there's a lot of rumors about it just being very hard to live there because of that isolation. But I had discussed it with my husband, and we decided that it was the best thing for his career. And he had supported me all throughout college, so I wanted to support him. But deep down, I really was afraid that I wasn't going to have any opportunities to discover what I wanted to do with my life or build a career or anything in such a small place. But I pushed those feelings down because I didn't want them to, I had decided that I was going to do this for him. But when you push the feelings down, they start to spill out elsewhere.
Exactly.
And I felt obligated to move there for him, so I started to feel obligated about everything else in my life. Getting up in the morning, paying bills, going to the grocery store, all of those things started to feel like overwhelming burdens that I had to do but didn't want to do. And I started to fantasize about just letting go and not caring about them anymore. And perhaps if I could do that, I would find some kind of freedom. But you can't do that. You can't stop caring about paying the bills and getting up in the morning.
Yeah.
So,
somebody will come after you.
Exactly. So what I did was I did a free write to try to get these emotions out, and what came out was the idea for a white room. And after I did the free write, I couldn't get it out of my head, this idea, and I decided I had to pursue it and turn it into something more, turn it into a story.
I think what you said was so great, and so many women experience that. So that's why I think, you know, women are interested in watching. Men too, you should hear this. But because do you think women sacrifice so much for, you know, like you said, your husband sacrificed for you in school, but you felt like you were sacrificing your dreams, like you know, a lot of women are going through that right now, you know. And I think that's why people are so angry a lot of times, or they're frustrated because they're not living out their dreams. And I think it's amazing that you found your way somehow. So anybody can, you know. Yes. I mean, even though I know it's hard sometimes.
Especially for women, because women have the natural obligation of raising a family and taking care of other family members. If you have an elderly parent that needs to live with you and be taken care of, those things usually fall to the woman. And so a lot of times women will put their careers and their dreams second for their family. And that's something that I think almost every woman will experience at some time, and it's really hard to rise above that.
Yeah.
But many, many women are. Yeah. I definitely think any woman can.
We're strong, exactly. Children, families, pushing our dreams down. But so I love it when a woman is successful, and then, you know, you go and so tell us about the book. I think it's so interesting. The White Room, right?
A white room, and it's a white room for a specific reason. That free write I did that led to the idea of the book is about a woman trapped in a white room, and the white room kind of represents this life full of obligations. And the idea was that everybody has their own white room, so I really stressed that I wanted it to be a white room as opposed to the white room, which suggests that there's only one. Yeah. But in this case, it's something that everyone has and has to experience at some point in their life. The story itself is about a woman who is she lives at the turn of the century, and she has dreams of becoming a nurse, but her father dies unexpectedly and her family's left destitute. So she decides that she's going to sacrifice her dreams and marry a man she doesn't really know, but somebody who can provide for her family. He moves her to a small isolated town where she has to live in this house that she finds really disturbing, and she is both bothered by it and at the same time sort of obsessed by it. And as her regret and sorrow kind of build, things start to move, and she starts to see the house coming to life before her. Wow. And basically the only relief, the only solace she has is from an opportunity that she finds to pursue her dreams of nursing. Oh, wow. But the only thing is, in order to tend to the needy, she has to secretly defy her new husband, whose law firm prosecutes unlicensed practitioners. Wow. That's awesome. So you're saying the house kind of moves. Is this kind of paranormal book? It's really been compared to paranormal, but technically it's not. It's not a haunting or ghosts or a horror story, but it has some comparative type feels. There are definitely scenes where we're like, ooh, this feels like a ghost story. But it's all Emmeline. It's all in her head. Wow. I love it. And we're going to catch a reading with Stephanie. We're going to get to know her a little bit more first. But I love it. The era that you talk about is, name the era again. What part? It's the story takes place in the very last year of the Victorian era, in 1901. That was the year that Queen Victoria died, and so that era technically ended. It's a really interesting time period because 20 years before, women were really entrenched in the cult of domesticity that expected them to be mothers and wives and caretakers. And 20 years later, they were demanding the right to vote. So it is a time period of transition where women were starting to step out and insist that they have a place in the professional and working world, but it was still a time where society and parents expected them to adhere to Victorian values.
Exactly. I know that you're so great on your history. What are some of the things, the punishment that, rebellious women endured at the time? Because they were going through that transition. Name some of the things that were a punishment for women at that time.
Well, it was a complicated time because the society didn't really see it as punishment. They weren't trying to, punish them, but really it did come that way. Especially to women who weren't actually mentally ill but who were rebelling. Some of the treatments for hysteria, which is what a lot of women were diagnosed at this time, and that's what Emmeline is diagnosed with in the book, treatments ranged from the water cure and bed rest to being committed to an asylum or even having their reproductive organs removed, which is where we get the term hysterectomy.
Wow, I'm learning today. That's awesome. But what is water? What would you say, water?
The water cure, that was probably one of the least unpleasant, although it wasn't always fun, treatments. That it would consist of being either wrapped in wet blankets, and they would go back and forth between hot and cold. They would either do that with blankets or they would do it with actual tubs of water.
Oh, wow.
Usually women would do this, they would, agree to this treatment, but then sometimes it was forced upon women if they believed that they were hysterical and not in their right mind.
So hysterical was just someone that was rebelling against the norm.
Not necessarily. It was an umbrella term for any kind of mental disturbance a woman could have at the time. So women who were diagnosed with it had everything from actual anxiety and depression to just simply wanting to rebel. And the reason for that is that at this time it was believed that women wanting to be wife and mothers was a natural, normal thing. So if a woman didn't want to do those things, it was considered a symptom of something being wrong in her head, as opposed to just rebelling.
Yeah.
So they didn't really see it that way. They thought, oh, something's wrong with her. She doesn't want to be a mother. What woman wouldn't want to be a mother?
Well, that's interesting. I love it. And to hear how far we've come as a society, now we're able to pick and choose. But I think we still sometimes may feel like that. Do you still see women feeling, having to choose between being a wife and a mother and going for their dreams? It's just that.
Oh, yes. That is a huge thing still in our society. And I personally believe that the era of hysteria still impacts modern women today. Who hasn't heard the phrase, women are crazy? It's still kind of a general society idea that women are nuts. Women can fly off the handle, have a major meltdown at any moment. And I think that kind of stereotype or idea about women is left over from that time when it was considered any woman could be going hysterical at any moment.
Wow. Well, we're not. We're just strong, empowered women now. But you've come so long. I'm glad that you wrote a book about it. It's so awesome. So how long is your book, and how long did it take you to write it?
The book is a full-length novel. It's actually about 408 pages.
Oh, wow.
And it took me, I started writing it in 2008, and I just published it this year. So technically there was a 5-year period there, but I wasn't really working on it every single day. With novels, you have to, kind of put them down and go away and work on something else and come back with a fresh perspective.
Exactly, because I would say, most people get writer's block just trying to do a Facebook post.
Yes.
What am I going to write on here, But to do a whole book, that is such an accomplishment.
It takes a lot of time and a lot of discipline.
I can imagine. Was there any time that you just wanted to quit?
Oh, yes. Actually, in 2011, I was having a very hard time. I was feeling really down on myself because I couldn't get the book published. I couldn't get it accepted by an agent. And I had to ask myself, if I can't get anyone interested in it, is it me? Is it my writing? Am I just not good enough? And that became kind of a depressing time for me. I can imagine. But I got over it by just realizing that this was what I wanted to do. If I had to get better, then I was going to get better. I was going to pursue it no matter what.
And you just did it. That's awesome, because so many of us get stuck in that. You're not you're not the only one out there that gets, depressed or, feeling that you're not worthy enough to do it. So you did it. You pushed through and did it. And I think that is so important. I know that there's people out there that are wondering, how do you get a book published? How do you go along with that process? Because it seems very long, or it seems hard, or people think it's out of reach,
Well, that's the thing. In the past, it was something that was out of reach. It was a lot like actors. You hear about actors trying to get an agent or trying to get into acting and they audition for years and years and years and never go anywhere with it. But the exciting thing is that we are in a revolutionary time for the publishing industry. Due to new technology, we have the ability to get a book all ready to print and set up, but we don't actually have to print a single copy until somebody actually orders it from Amazon or Barnes & Noble or somewhere online. And that way we don't have to print thousands of books and store them in a warehouse and risk that money to print those books. We only have to print what's actually sold.
That's awesome.
Because of this new technology, it's called print on demand, authors have gotten the ability to take the power back when it comes to publishing. Now, people are self-publishing left and right, and this is especially the case with ebooks. You're hearing ebook revolution for sure.
Everybody's doing it.
Exactly, because you don't have to put down the cost to print anything in that case. And it's really an amazing time because authors now have the ability to keep control of their work, of their art. A lot of times when you do publishing, you lose the say in your cover art, you lose the say in your story. Publishers or editors could demand changes, really large changes sometimes to a work.
Just completely go away from your first vision. You know, so you have total control.
So it's very exciting.
And you have a print, you have a book. Can we show your book?
Yes. And see, what I did was I decided that I wanted to go this route of print on demand because it had I got to keep control and I got to keep the rights to all my work. And what I did was I created my own publisher. I now own and operate Unhinged Books, and my book is the only book that group has published. And I hired my own team of designers and editors, and this book is 100% my design and art. I completely controlled all the creation of it.
That's beautiful. That is phenomenal. I think not only did she write a book, now she owns her own publishing company.
Very exciting.
That's awesome. And she's in the Central Valley, everyone, and considers her imprint and this her home. It's so awesome. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, Stephanie is going to do a reading for us from her book you don't want to miss. Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with the amazing Stephanie Carroll. Just awesome story. I love it so much. Hopefully you are inspiring writers out there
I hope so.
And women just to go for their dreams and what it is that they love to do. So tell us right now what you're doing and where people can find you.
Well, first, people can find me tonight. I'm doing a book reading in Hanford at 7 p.m. at Lush Fine Wines. And people can also find me. I write 2 blogs. I write The Unhinged Historian, which is exploring the dark side of the Victorian era. And I also write Unhinged and Empowered Navy Wives, which is a blog for Navy wives to conquer those little moments that make them feel crazy.
Wow, I think that's awesome because there's so many, the Central Valley especially, we're so full of Navy wives because we have the base out there in Lemoore. And so they can find you at, what's your blog again?
My blog for Navy Wives is Unhinged and Empowered Navy Wives, and that's both online and on Facebook and Twitter.
Okay.
As is The Unhinged Historian.
Okay.
And that's the blog for dark-sided history, Victorian era and Gilded Age.
So you stay pretty busy.
I do.
And plus you're promoting yourself.
Yes.
So what is it that you're doing to promote yourself?
Well, right now I'm actually doing a really big giveaway for to get more followers on Facebook and Twitter. I go by @CarrollBooks on Facebook and Twitter, and we are giving away a copy of the book, a signed copy of A White Room, as well as an ebook. And the ebook, whoever wins that will be able to share free copies with anybody they want for 24 hours.
Amazing.
And we're also giving away 2 $25 Amazon gift cards.
That's awesome. You guys can't beat that. That's an amazing giveaway. So they have to, how do they get to the giveaway?
They can go to my Facebook page, and there's a little blue square under my photo that says giveaway.
Okay.
And the deal is they have to either follow my Facebook page or my Twitter page. And the thing is that the competition will not end. There will be no winners until I reach 200 followers on Facebook and 450 followers on Twitter.
200 on Facebook. You guys heard that. Make it happen right now at Carroll Books. How many do you have right now?
I have about 100 on Facebook and about 300 on Twitter. So really, I just need 100 more on each in order to get some winners.
100 of you guys, please go right now. You can't lose. That's awesome. Yeah. That's an awesome deal. I love it. So you're promoting yourself, and then tonight you have a reading
at Lush Fine Wines in Hanford at 7 p.m.
And we have a flyer there, you guys. So you're doing different readings, different places.
Yes.
And how often are you doing them?
I've been doing readings all over the Central Valley for the last 2 months, and I went up to Nevada and did a reading in Fallon. This is actually going to be the last one for a little while tonight, so it's a big finale, so you should come out, last chance.
Okay.
And after that, I'm going to be trying to do some more speaking engagements, going to places like museums and book clubs and libraries to speak there. So.
That's awesome, and hopefully there's people watching from all over the place. Like I said, I put them out everywhere. We got people in different states watching, and people I know personally people that love the Victorian age and this type of storyline. It's amazing. So what I want to do is I want you to give the audience a sample of a reading from your book and let them see you live and in action.
And I'd love to do that. And I'd also want to mention that the book is available everywhere online, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's available for Kindle, Nook. So anybody can buy it.
That's right. So Amazon, Kindle,
Barnes & Noble, Apple, Sony, basically everywhere, anywhere you like to buy books online, it's available there.
That was awesome. I love it. Everybody, please listen to Stephanie Carroll.
The chapter I'm going to read for you guys starts with my main character, Emmeline. She's in the kitchen, and she's washing dishes, and her kitchen is located in the basement. She lives in a creepy house, so that's where the kitchen is. Here we go. I racked a clean dish and lathered the next. A loud thud made me jump. Then I heard noise from above, creaking sounds, as if someone were traipsing across the parlor. I let my head fall back and stared at the ceiling. It had to be John. I placed the wet dish on the stack, picked up my ivory lamp with the tall cylindrical glass cover, cautiously scaled the stairs. I always moved with wariness while in the house alone, for I feared disturbing something. At the top of the stairs, I looked down a dark hallway. I hadn't opened the doors in case John returned quickly. If he'd been home, he would have left open the door to whichever room he was in. None were ajar. John? It felt like hollering underwater. I cleared my throat and took a breath. I was preparing to raise my voice when pounding on the second floor stopped me. I turned my eyes up and listened, too frightened to move. Was it John? Was it the beast? A clanking noise came from the parlor. I saw the glow of the lamp on the doorknob, hesitated, heard clacking, and inched over. I grasped the knob, twisted it, and pushed the door open. It opened to reveal that all the furniture in the parlor was moving, dancing. The winding appendages of the bizarre tables and chairs were actually twisting and twirling. The legs were flailing, and the statues and pictures were sashaying. I dropped the lamp, and the glass cylinder shattered on the floor. My disturbance did not halt the wooden being's frenzy. I thrust my hands out. Stop! Stop! You must stop! The furniture continued to dance as if I didn't exist. I looked around at the chaos and tried to think of the appropriate action. I needed to stop this. John could return at any moment. Stop! I screamed as loud as I could to cut through the clanking and flailing. Stop! Stop! Stop now! They refused to respond, and an unbearable sense of urgency rose within me from deep in my abdomen. I screamed and grabbed at the snaking extremities. I took hold of the leg of a chair and snapped it off. With the sound of the chair's limb breaking free, an unquenchable need to demolish these rebellious objects began to boil in my gut. I bunched my hands into tight little rocks and experienced my own detonation. I picked up a statuette and hurled it at the wall. I kicked over a table and all the bric-a-brac crashed to the floor. I stomped down on the legs of a table I'd knocked over, breaking all but one off. I continued seeking out the most frail furnishings and tearing them limb from limb. The entire room fell into a hush. I seized a detached extremity and waved it in the air. Do you see? Do you see what I can do to you? The room sat motionless, as if nothing had happened. Had it not? I scanned the parlor and saw the disarray that had resulted from my thrashing. My heart skipped. John would be home soon. I couldn't allow him to see it. What would he think? What a cruel and evil trick the furniture had played on me. Quickly I ran about the room and turned chairs and tables upright and gathered the smashed pieces of bric-a-brac together. I scuttled and tripped on my skirt. I swiftly removed the broken table, dismembered pieces, and shattered porcelain, and ran down the stairs to stow them with my melancholy in the basement. As I set the rubble down in a corner, I heard thumping again. I dashed upstairs and into the parlor to find the furniture at it again, only this time, instead of merely dancing, the pieces were running amok. They knew I'd be the ones to suffer the consequences. They didn't speak it. They couldn't, being only furniture. But I knew they were calling out in an uproar. Do you see? Do you see what we can do to you? I watched as one reached out and tipped over a potted plant, scattering soil everywhere. No! A twirling vine from a cabinet slid up the wall, lifted off a mirror, and let it crash to the floor. You wretched things! I scrambled to pick everything up. I moved from place to place, standing tables up, positioning chairs to face the proper direction, and gathering shards of porcelain and glass. I picked up trinkets and statuettes and put them in their places. Every time I cleared something from the room, I returned to worse. Every time I put something right, I whirled around to find it all wrong again. No, no, no! Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I fell to my knees, covered my face with my hands, and screamed, "Stop, stop, I'm begging you, please stop." Emmeline? A calm but curious voice broke through the insanity. Nothing around me was in motion. There was only me, a lifeless parlor, and John's voice. I opened my eyes, lifted my head, and peeked through my hands to see his lanky form standing in the open doorway, his cheeks twitching and his eyes bulging. What happened? He sounded oddly concerned. I looked up, stunned. I lowered my trembling hands from my face and clasped them at my chest. My mouth hung open but could not form syllables. He stared. I tripped? You tripped? I nodded ever so slightly. He pointed. You have blood on your face. I lifted my hand to my left cheek and felt a wet slick but no pain. I noticed a slit on my sleeve that revealed a little blood-speckled flesh. I cut myself. John observed the room. Furniture tipped over, chairs facing every direction, dirt strewn across the floor, little piles of broken porcelain and glass throughout. He may have suspected my dishonesty. He bent down and picked up a rounded fragment of a vase. My eyes darted to and fro in panic. I realized how I must have looked on my knees in the middle of the room, panting, with a red smear across my face, a cut arm, surrounded by wreckage. It was an accident? He rubbed the broken porcelain with his thumb. Well, I'll be in the library. He turned and walked out. I looked over my shoulder at the destroyed parlor, everything limp and lifeless. Stupid furniture.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Stephanie Carroll, for being here today.
Thank you so much.
You guys know where to find her. Go to her website. You'll find everything. Come right back.